right, Izzy, this was your movie. We'll start out with you then. So we'll start out with initial thoughts.
Okay, so the first time I saw it, I did want to use the word masterpiece after I was done with it, and that's kind of why I suggested it. I just wanted to. We were throwing the word around a little bit, so I kind of wanted to be like, well, what do I think a masterpiece is as far as a film goes that these guys probably haven't seen yet? So I was immediately struck with like the visuals, the pacing, all that stuff. But more than that, the story got me. So and I didn't expect it to. I actually thought it was going to be one of those movies where you're like, man, that was so good, and then you just don't remember anything about it because there wasn't really a strong story, but it looked beautiful. That's what I expected, but the story actually got its hooks in me. So that was surprising to me. I didn't expect it. So there are going to be some spoilers. We may want to post that because a lot of what is worth talking about.
There's going to be some spoilers, definitely.
Is like spoilerific. So.
Spoilers. All right, Raheem, did you finish it? You ended up finishing it, right?
I finished it because Jared Ray guilted me. That's the reason why. But I'm gonna throw a curveball.
Initial thoughts, just initial thoughts.
Yeah, this isn't what you liked or disliked. This is just your first impression.
It was good. It was really, really good. It was really, really good for all the right reasons of why it should have been good, which is why I was pissed off at a certain point in it, and I didn't want to finish it. It was that good. It was good.
You were invested.
I have one negative thing to say about it is the part that I'm talking about on why I didn't want to finish it. But that's it.
Well, we'll get into that and the dislikes, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
It was good. That's my initial thoughts. It was good. Watch it. Please go watch it. It's good.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Jared?
So I liked it a lot. It was really good. It made me. I hate to say I'm not versed in Shakespeare or history really, so it made me want to go do some research, and I was curious about like how historically accurate it was because that kind of I think made a difference to me. Yes, Pattinson was rad.
Yeah.
It turns out I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's kind of a adaptation of an adaptation because he was a real life character. Shakespeare wrote his plays about him, which was he took his liberties, and then this movie takes its liberties from Shakespeare.
It's basically fiction at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's inspired by an existing thing. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it I mean, the fact that it made me want to go deeper, and so I really liked the movie. I watched it twice.
Nice.
I probably watch it again, but only because I would rather spend the time going and watching other adaptations of it. Like there's a mini series with Tom Hiddleston playing him on a mini series, and
oh wow,
tons of amazing actors are in it. So I think I'm going to find that and watch it. But the fact that it inspired me to find other versions, that says a lot. One of these days I'm going to get into Shakespeare, but I don't know. The language is hard for me to follow, but I know. I mean, I heard that Macbeth is basically. Is it Macbeth or is it Hamlet? One of them is basically Batman. So it's like I really need to learn about that. But anyways, yeah, it was really, really good. Good pick, Izzy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I'll get deeper into it. Why my likes. I thought it was really good. I thought it was better. I mean, just from the trailer, I could kind of tell that I was gonna like it.
You're a visual dude.
Yeah. Like visually, I was like, okay, this looks good. But the story was really good. It was shot really well. It's funny because I used to not like these type of movies, like older, like period piece, like oh, where art thou, like King Henry type fighting. I used to hate these type of movies, but I've gotten into them more lately. Like I've learned to like I don't know, kind of focus really hard on it and understand it, and now like I love it because I love how it kind of takes you back into that time. Like you feel like you're back in that time. I like it a lot. So yeah, man, I thought it was great. It was a good pick. It was a really good pick.
Damn. Okay, I did not expect all four of us to like this.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I was reluctant when you said that move. When you picked that, I was kind of reluctant because what happened was they started doing good in these type of films, these type of movies, and then it went to some type of weird dramatization of what actually happened. But this one kind of brought it back to its original state, even though it was fiction. But it brought it back to its original state of being about kingship. You know what I'm
It
saying?
felt simple. Yes.
Yeah, it was so simple and easy. This is what it is. This is what, we're not going to add all this extra love affair, bull crap, incest, and all this stuff that daily shows add in to these type of films.
Right.
So that's what I was expecting. I was kind of negative going in. Lo and behold, man, oh my God. I got so caught up in it to where it made me mad.
You turned it off.
Yeah.
You turned it off. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it was
Good
Arca
pick.
Paul Jam.
Good
It was.
pick.
He
I'm
was
going to say
good
that.
Arca
Good pick, for real.
You're the king of walk-offs. Like,
You totally are.
we gave you a forced walk-off last week.
I did. I gave him one.
Yeah.
Fired at GOT. Yep.
Oh man.
So it was a good pick, man. It really was.
It was
And
good.
now it got me back into my wanting to watch more films like that.
Yeah.
It's tough to find them. I'm not gonna lie. I
It
mean, there's a
is.
reason I think that's a masterpiece, and it is that it's like completely simple, and they never lose track of the fact that the point is to draw you into a story about people in situations that they don't have much control over. So it's easy to identify with that. It's easy to sit there and get even the characters you don't really identify with very much. You can still understand the situation they're in from their viewpoint, right? They're trying to be like, I'm just a person in this situation, and everyone reacts to that different. Some people try to take control. Some people get quiet. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's what the movie's about to me. And I like that. I like how simple that is, where it's like, it doesn't keep you at arm's length from the movie. Some movies will do that through like too much granularity, right? Too much nuance. Like this one doesn't have that, even though it's shot incredibly well. It just keeps you, man, right there. You can like imagine yourself being some of those people pretty easily, even though they're in a different time period. I love that about that movie.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because how many times have we seen the story of the reluctant king? You know?
Right.
But
Right.
it didn't feel like we were retreading to me.
Right. It
Yeah.
didn't either to me. Yeah.
And he was more than just reluctant. Like he didn't want it at all.
He was against it.
Yeah. Completely.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because in Shakespeare, this was like totally random, but as I'm watching it, what's going through my head is the saying, "Heavy is the head that wears the crown," which I guess is a misquote. It's actually "Uneasy is the head that wears the crown."
Okay.
But I was like, I wonder where that originally came from, and I looked it up, and it is Shakespeare. It's from Henry IV. But
His dad.
I wonder if Timothy, I don't know if it's Chalamet.
Chalamet.
Yeah, I don't I wonder if kind of the way he carries himself the whole time almost feels like he used that as that saying to create his character. I felt
Yeah, he's almost slouching perpetually. Yeah.
It just constantly, and I thought that was so cool that it actually was Shakespeare that said that. And that's what I thought before even knowing that. I found that really cool.
That's why I picked this movie. I wanted to pick something that had both Robert Pattinson and Timothée Chalamet in it, so we could talk about their upcoming movies and how we think they might hold up as leading men. That was my main thing. I also wanted to show the guys what I thought a masterpiece was, but that was actually secondary to that motive. I wanted to really talk about how we think those at the end of this. I want to get into that.
Izzy, you said when you first saw it, you thought it was a masterpiece. You still ring that bell?
Yes, I think it got better the second time I watched it. Third time I watched it, yes. Yeah, I think it just gets better. You just, especially once you know what happens, watching it again, it is so slyly developed from a writing perspective. They do not hide what you already know. It's kind of in plain sight.
Right.
The second, third time you watch it, and you're like, God, that is exactly how that would work if that person was smart enough to do that. Again, we're going to do spoilers because a big part of why this movie is so good is definitely some of the twisty stuff that happens. But yeah, I still think I still do.
So what's next?
All right, you ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. All right, go ahead, Izzy. We'll start out
We're going to do likes?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously the visuals, right? The pacing is nearly perfect. I feel like it only slows down. I feel the movie slow down a little bit when they're marching from the first castle they take to where they meet the Dauphin. There's something there that kind of lags a tiny bit, but I still like it. But I do like the pacing. That's not a dislike. That's me saying I really like the pacing. I like the pacing quite a bit. I like how much quiet there is in the movie in between the lines delivered, even though it does kind of require you to have like subtitles on to really get the full force of everything, you know, even with just like normal noise in a house, like fridge kicking on and stuff. This is one of those movies where I think you want to have that stuff on, but it does reward you. I like that. I liked how they used empty space, not just in the filming of it, but also the dialogue. I think that was really cool to give you kind of, I just feel like you're on pins and needles a lot. I just feel like you were on pins and needles a lot, but it wasn't like you wanted to get off of them. You were actually anxious to see what happened next instead of feeling uncomfortable. Like some movies will do that intentionally, right? I liked that. I think those are like probably my big favorites: the filming, the acting, and then the use of empty space, both visually and audially. Like I think those are like probably my biggest likes. Obviously, the story's killer, but like that's kind of a moot point because it's Shakespeare, right? Dude kind of like wrote the book on good story writing as far as like getting an audience invested, right?
Right.
So, but as far as like this envisioning of it, I think those are my biggest likes of it. So
I can't disagree with that at all. That was spot on with the pacing. I agree with that. And I think what contributes to that type of pacing, simple story. A simple story would make the pacing just work just right, and it makes you follow all the way through without even having to go back to really rethink of what happened or why was this happening or whatever. Great pacing. I agree with that. That wasn't my original thought, but I just want to, which is weird because me and Izzy always are at odds. So I just want to put that out there that I agree with you, Izzy. I agree. My likes. I am a big underdog storyline person. Give me the underdog, and I would love it every freaking time if you do it right. This was different. This was a different underdog because Henry V did not want his position because of the hypocrisy from his dad. His dad caused everything that's going on, but he loved the people. He loved the people. And the people knew this, and they knew how smart he was and how gifted he was and what he can do, and he could be a true leader. And so everybody was pushing him to be that leader, but he didn't want it. And so what ended up happening was, so the dad had no choice because the dad knew that it was a rift between him and his son. And so the dad was going to push his younger brother to be the king. And that scene alone told me you have no experience. None whatsoever.
The younger brother, you mean?
The younger brother. The
Yeah.
younger brother had no
Yeah.
experience. But you can see that older brother tie in. And I know this for a fact because, in my life, I have two older brothers. And so when I'm inexperienced going into something, they stepped in. You know what I'm saying? Every time. They stepped in every time to make sure that I was going to be okay. But I was arrogant as a younger brother, wanting to prove to my older brother that I can do this. And I failed, but they was there to pick me up or help out afterwards. And it's kind of what happened in this film. Shortly, but it kind of happened in this film. But so the underdog story is my biggest love of movies. Underdog person, somebody who is kind of looked over, or he refuses something because he knows the hypocrisy that comes along with it. And so
he was like openly not wanted.
Yeah.
Right? When he walks into that court to meet his dad, the whole court, you could hear a pin drop, and it's because they don't like him.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with them being like, oh, the prince is here.
Exactly.
Right? They're not showing deference. They're like...
Exactly. Big difference. and the fact that he won them over because of his war savviness, like his mind, and how this... I don't want to get to dislikes, but his homie, though. Oh my gosh, man! I wish anyway. So his homie was a big part of that, of his training, a war vet who trained him. But anyways,
are you talking about Joe Egerton's character?
Yeah, John.
Yes,
John. Okay.
Falstaff, is that his last name?
So my biggest like is the underdog, the underlining story when it comes to the prince of what he didn't want, but he had to presume it, and then also his right hand man was my biggest thing that just took me in.
Yeah,
And yeah,
he's great.
So I'm gonna leave it right there until we get to dislikes.
I do want to like have like a small discussion really quick before we move on to Jared about that for a second. Like where I really liked the specific idea of, and this is me agreeing with you, Raheem, and just kind of extrapolating just the tiniest bit. I like the concept of a reluctant king that then nails it in front of everyone who didn't like him in an unconventional way, in a way they didn't want him to do it, right? That's so almost like validating in a weird way when you watch that, because I love doing that. I'm the guy that likes, when I play Magic the Gathering, I make a deck that everyone makes fun of and then I wreck everybody with it, right? Like that's that's the funniest thing in the whole world to me. Like, and that movie just embodies that concept where it's like, we don't want you. Well, you got me. Well, you're doing it wrong. No, I'm not. Like I just proved it. Like that's like
Everybody
like
was
so
stuck.
good.
Everybody, like everybody was stuck on this is how we always do things. This is how we always.
Well, that's why you messed up.
There's never a improvement. This is how it is. That's what it is. It's like in time, things change. Things improve in time. Technology improve in time. If you don't improve, you'll be left in the past. And the king proved that. He proved that.
Yeah, the common sense. Yeah, Jared.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like I wasn't even going to say pacing because I don't notice pacing unless it's bad, really, normally. But you're right.
Yeah.
This movie was.
That's
2
the
hours
idea, though,
long.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So my number one thing that I love is the dialogue. There's a couple lines. I mean, and I just wrote down a couple, but there were tons. Like I like that hook has lost its worm.
Oh man, that might be my
yeah.
favorite line in the movie.
That's a good line. That's a good line.
That's so good.
And I like at the end too, where he tells William, remedy that failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Those
That's
are
a
like
good
the
one.
two most spicy lines, dude. They're
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Because you just get like chills.
Yep.
Like even though like one of them, he's like half asleep when he says it, and you're just like, oh, he ain't having it.
Yep.
Like, oh,
Yeah, he just called him back to tell him you're not king. Like, and he didn't want to go, but then he went, and he's like, "Your brother's getting it. I just had to tell you face to face." You know, it's just like, I'm not. Why would I go back? Why? But anyways, yeah, and just the whole thing. Like, it was almost, which is cool that it's Shakespeare because it felt like poetry in a way, even though I read some of like Shakespeare's original scenes compared to this, and they were way different, but they still felt poetic.
that shows you Joel Edgerton's writing.
Yeah,
I was blown away, dude.
Yeah.
that he was another one of my likes. Obviously, like all the acting, but his acting especially. Like I don't know how he's not a household name yet. Maybe because he hasn't been in a Marvel movie yet. But he's going to be in the
Right.
Obi-Wan series.
Why you gotta shoot my look, man? Look, why you gotta shoot my man's though? Come on now.
Oh, man.
Do you know that actor Raheem? Because if you like the character Falstaff so much, do you know who Joel Edgerton is? Have you seen him in other stuff?
I'm just saying I have seen him in other stuff. But my thing is, why you gotta shoot Marvel though?
Because I mean, he has a point. He has a point.
Why you gotta
There's
pick
a
on
lot
stuff
of.
We're not talking about it.
No,
You
he has a
become
point. He
a
has
household
point.
name if you're in one of those movies, man.
Yeah, even if you're not a good
Everybody
actor.
sees it.
Like, there's a lot of
Look,
great actors who are not
that-
household names just because.
Listen, that is the now because Marvel is the most, like the blatant in your face comic book movie type of thing right now. But it hasn't been like that back then.
It wasn't a real dig. It wasn't a dig. It was just fact.
That would be a way that everyone would know him.
Yeah.
It actually would be true.
He needs
If
to
he was
get
in a
big.
Marvel movie, everyone would know who Joel Edgerton is for sure. If he played
There
Punisher
are,
instead,
there are a lot of people who are in Marvel films who are not known. Just putting that out there right now.
Everybody's going to be watching the Obi-Wan prequel, and he's going to be in that because he's playing Uncle Owen again.
Oh, okay.
because he was on alone in the prequels, but
I
that
didn't
was
Oh, that's right. He was.
when he was super young. Like he had like 2 lines or something.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's dope.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he was like, he just disappeared in that character, man. I loved him so much, and yeah, Pattinson. It was cool to see that he's got range.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was his
Oh, yeah.
character was a little comical, but still fun to watch. It's weird. There was comedy in this movie. Like, what was up with the Bithop with the lisp?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How was that thrown in there?
Yeah.
No, there was
Some of them
definitely
talk like
comedy.
that.
It just
I mean,
wasn't
that's why Christopher Guest nailed that to
in
the
your
wall.
face.
That's like a real thing.
Is it
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a real
It
thing.
was-
I'm glad you said that. Yep.
a real thing? Like there was an old bishop that had that, or Hamlet's, or in
Yeah.
Shakespeare's plays. There's a character that's that way. Like
There was an actual bishop who actually had a like a list. Freaking what is that one movie that everybody Princess Bride?
yeah, that's what Izzy was
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. So it's a common thing, you know.
Yeah.
But people have speech impediments. Like Aaron or Moses had a speech impediment.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
true.
know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
It's not like it's a common. It's not like it's not a common thing. It's always
Yeah.
been a common.
But it
thing.
was funny.
It was.
Yeah.
I swear they gave
It
him.
was.
They gave him like his dialogue had so many S's in it just so they could.
They called him
Going to
And I didn't know that Hal was short for Henry. Did you
I
guys?
think Hal Bithop.
I did not know that.
I
until
didn't
this
either.
movie.
I didn't. I was wondering why they were calling him Hal. I was
Yeah.
like,
It's so like Hal Jordan is actually Henry Jordan. That's new to me. Green Lantern's name is Henry Jordan.
Yeah, right.
what?
Henry, the Green Lantern.
Okay, so one more like I liked the way they portrayed war as like something ugly, and they didn't glorify it in any way. They used some other words, ugly, and then soulless was another word they used.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the battles, like when he fought the other guy, the Wales guy, is that his name? Or was that where he's from? No.
The
At the very
Dauphin.
beginning, where he challenged the other dude, and
Oh, that was yes. He's Welsh, and that was like one of his servants that was
Right.
sick of his father's idiocy. Yeah.
and then so they're in the armor, and 4 times the swinging their sword, they're panting like they're both.
Yep.
It reminded me of like Daredevil scenes when he takes out those people and he has to like take
He's
a breather in
tired.
the hallway.
Yeah.
It's like so realistic because I mean, in other movies it would be like they'd just be fencing and fighting forever.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're like, I mean, they're wearing all that armor. It's gonna be like hard. These
It
are
made it
young
scary.
people.
It made you
Not
feel
only
like
that,
death
like,
was happening. Like
Mobility, the mobility, like the realism of that scene, of those scenes when they're wearing a full blown. That's why I love that one scene to where it was like, look, my awesome compadre who recommended that they don't wear the full armor. But anyway, the mobility of wearing armor. So you have the weight, and then you have the mobility of how you're going to move.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just that alone, man. I wear a mask all day for my work, right? That sucks. I can only imagine
imagine wearing a body mask.
Yeah, right.
a body mask.
Of
Oh
metal.
my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
It's
metal.
just ridiculous. I was like, how do you die wearing all that?
Well, you
But
saw.
of course,
exertion.
they find the scenes.
Yeah,
find the
yeah,
scenes. That's
yeah.
why I loved it when he grabbed his little dagger, his dagger knife. Man, you can kill so many people that way faster than a damn sword. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
In that movie, that's what I said.
you find the weak spot.
Yeah, easy.
Between-
Boop, boop, boop.
That's it. That's
Everything
my
goes-
likes.
Okay.
Other than the whole movie in general, that's my likes.
Right. So for likes, obviously, you guys know me. The visuals were like incredible. The cinematography was incredible. Some of those camera shots, like, just like took me like. There was a couple that really stood out to me. Was like, the shot right before Timothy's character Henry, right before he fights that guy that was calling him like dog, like big dog or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting there
Where's the
panting.
big dog?
Yeah, and then like he turns around and he starts walking towards the guy, and it's like a one shot, and then like the camera follows him behind. Oh my god, it looks so good. What really sold me on this, like, the script was good. The acting was really good. I thought everyone was casted real well
Yeah.
in their parts. Like everyone, like even a lot of like the little characters, I thought like acted really well. The people who weren't in it that much, like the scene at the end where he's talking to the French girl. Oh my god,
Yeah.
and she just like owns him. Oh my god, it's so good. The dialogue between them is so good.
So her last name is Depp. Is that Johnny Depp's daughter?
That's his daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Dang, she's a good actress, man.
Yeah.
She's a good actress.
I was glad I listened to Jared Ray and finished it.
Well, I wasn't going to get on here and try to avoid spoilers because of you.
I was
And you
pissed.
hadn't
that's a
gotten
good
to
point.
that point yet.
I was that pissed.
Dude, seriously, 20 minutes left. It's crazy.
I was that pissed.
But
It was
what really sold me on the movie was like the little details on it, like just like the way certain people acted, or like things on the wall, or like the way the clothes looked for certain people, like the way they like the people in the background like were working, like building stuff, like how accurate it looked for that time, how they tried to make it look for that time. Like that's what really sold it to me. Like I hate when I watch movies that are like when I can tell like something during that time isn't how they would act or talk. You know what I mean? Or like, especially like military movies, I hate it. Like when they hold a gun the wrong way, or like you see a cop holding it, takes me out of the movie. I hate it. It bugs the crap out of me. So that was like a big thing for me. Like there was like a lot of details, like little details, stuff like that. That was like, yeah, okay. I was like, I feel like I'm there, like, you know, like I'm in it right now.
The dude covering up his face because it stinks.
You're
when he
right.
talks to
Yeah.
friends in
Yes. The
streets.
little stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the only other movie that made me feel this immersed in like medieval Europe was actually weirdly that Bring Out Your Dead scene in Monty Python's Holy Grail. Right?
Yeah.
That is a movie that I'm like, that's probably what it felt like.
Yeah.
That right there, where there's just mud everywhere and everything sucks. And like the lighting's horrible. Like this movie nailed that in a way that made it like more artistic. But yeah, no, totally. I definitely felt like I was there, whether it was in the king's court, right? Or like out in the streets, or in the bar that doesn't have any lighting, right? When they go in there and he's like, everyone out, and it's like middle of the day and it's like dark in there.
Right.
Because there's like no windows, only candlelight. It sucks. She hasn't lit the candles yet because they're barely open, right?
Yeah.
That whole thing, it's dope.
Who is Adam the GM 253 is talking about Adam Arkapaw. Who's that?
He was
a cinematographer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that definitely.
Yeah. It was so well lit. Like the scenes, and like, oh my god, like the scene. Who was it that was talking? It was Timothy's character, and was it the guy? He's either Joel Egerton or the guy from Mission Impossible. But like the scene where they were like talking I think it was the guy from Mission Impossible, where they were like at the window talking. Like one side of their face was like lit real well from the window, and the other side was just like shadowed and dark. Well, oh my god, I love it, man. I love it.
We can get into dislikes now.
All right, so
we have some
engraving image of the dislikes.
Okay, all right, Izzy's up first, so chill, Ryan. All right, we'll get to you.
Okay, so there's only a few things I don't like about this movie, but they're necessary to move the plot forward, which is kind of unfortunate. One, I didn't like how openly obstinate and unreasonable his father was. It made him a little tough to believe, right? Like especially the dinner table scene that you're being introduced to him with.
Right.
That kind of I don't like that it ends. I know. Almost.
That's kind of what I want to watch that miniseries. That miniseries is pretty long.
Yeah.
I think it goes on because I think Benedict Cumberbatch plays the next king or something in that series.
That's cool.
Real quick.
I also don't really like.
Real quick is real quick. So I've done the research on King Henry IV. He was an asshole. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, I know.
Continue
I know.
on.
It's just like, and I get that, like, that conversation was cool to watch because Ben Mendelsohn is obviously like a freak of nature when it comes to acting. Like, the dude can just do anything at all.
Yep.
Like, but then the way he basically scolds that kid openly in front of his court after the kid tries to be like, oh, I'm going to talk back to the king. I'm so tough. And the king's like, well, you're not tough enough to outsmart a mentally ill guy. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Like, that scene's rad, but it's also like, oh, he is like, it's almost tough to believe that he's that suspicious of his own relative and stuff when there's nothing to substantiate it. Like, I don't know, it was like tricky. And there was another thing that I didn't like that was his sister seemed, her acting seemed kind of spooky in a way that kind of pulled me out of the movie for a second. You remember when she's like, be careful, brother. They all have kingdoms behind their own eyes, right? She spoke like someone that would be Kate Blanchett's age. And that kind of pulled me out a little bit because she's a little kid.
Yeah.
That's like, she is a princess at this point, or like a queen even, right? She's married a guy, right?
Yeah.
So I get that she has to be mature, but you think she like dropped the act with her big brother, you know what I mean? Like, but that was one thing that was just a little bit kind of pulled me out just a tiny bit. And then the last thing I don't like is I don't think Raheem's this is gonna make you so mad, but like I love Joel Edgerton's character, I do, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they spent enough time on the fact that he was kind of a freeloader. He didn't actually pull his own weight at all. And
his son? You mean his son?
No, Joel Edgerton. He had debts all over town.
Okay.
He slept in the king's house.
The best friend.
Right? He didn't actually pull his own weight. He was kind of a washout. And they don't really focus on that enough. And I think it's important to his character because I think when he does kind of come back to the fore after being kind of just quiet and letting everybody fight in front of him and then, frustrating his friend and stuff and then being like, dude, where you been? When he finally does come up with a plan that works, that should have been much more vindicating than it was. Because I think you would have seen him turn from the burnout that he is into like a hero again. But they didn't harp on the burnout part enough, and I think they should have.
Okay, let me tell you some of the best things are in what is not said. And I think that is portrayed really well in the line when, what was the name of the?
I know you're gonna say
William. William says to Henry, "Do you think that he's ready for this?" And Henry says, "He's a good man." That's
not an answer.
He does not say, "Oh yeah, he could be my general."
No, he doesn't think he's ready. He's just like, he's a good man. That's like a dismissal. That's not even a real answer.
He's been drinking for the last who knows how many years. He's not in his best shape at all. Like he's
just been drinking and living off the courtesy of his princely friend.
Yeah.
Right? And he gets mad about getting kicked out of the house. And he gets mad about being called out on owing debts all over town, right? He doesn't owe him at all. He never apologizes. He's never like, I'm so sorry. Like, he's actually kind of a piece of crap. Like in the first half of the movie.
You guys are missing the bigger picture, though. You was right. Yes, I am pissed off that you felt about that. You watched this movie 3 times.
Yeah,
you felt that way. So yes, I'm a little bit pissed. Okay.
Yeah, I just think I think he's a good man too. I don't disagree with that, but I think they should have doubled down more on what a burnout he was, so that when he redeemed himself at the end, it was much more moving than it was.
I think that it was expressed fine.
Do you really?
Why did he burn out?
I mean,
why did he burn out?
Because he hated war. That's easy. Because he hated war and he had a friend that was a prince that could pay for everything, that liked to party with him. That's easy.
Bro.
It doesn't make him a bad person, Reem.
No, it doesn't.
He's not a bad person. He's not a bad person.
Okay.
He was the underlying story that should have been shined straightforward through. And in that last hour. Like he should not have died at that part of the movie. He should not have died at that. Like, if you want to die, at least die dignified. Like, show him dying because he had so much wisdom when it comes to war.
Okay,
But
hold on.
he
Before we
hated it.
okay, let's go. Wait, are you done? Is it?
Yeah, I
Let's
can be
wait.
done. We can just get into Raheem's dislikes. Yeah,
Okay.
but he wants
Or-
to fight me right now because I don't think that they painted a
bad,
bad
my
enough
bad.
picture.
Yeah,
of his
before we
favorite
get it,
guy.
let's make sure we get it.
I do before you
I'm
get
so
into
passionate. I'm so passionate about stuff that I love and dislike. My bad is.
So he was actually, just to let you know, he's actually a fictional character. He's kind of an amalgam of
Yep,
a
I
couple
know.
of real life
I know.
characters.
I know, but they
I looked that up,
did
yeah.
him. They did him so right and then so wrong in the same movie. It was ridiculous.
They did him so dirty.
They did him so dirty. It was like, anyways, that is what made me want to not watch the rest of the movie of how he died. It was so disrespectful.
You don't think he should have been down there with the men carrying out his own plan?
They built him up to be this war vet. They didn't really even show him being in an environment of him in the war set. They just showed him dead at the end of the war.
Yeah, yeah.
That hurt me. That literally
Well,
hurt
that's what
me.
war actually feels like, though.
He got hit by a horse right off the bat.
Stop,
Like, that's
Oh yeah, he ate a horse. That's true. Boom! Like,
If you are going to highlight an individual who's
give
giving
him a
insight,
glorious death.
who's giving insight to war in the movie, he's giving insight. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You should do this.
Yeah.
You should do that. Who's giving insight in the war, and King Henry looked up to this dude,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to this. Okay, as I'm watching this, I'm telling myself, I know he's going to die. I already knew he's going to die, right? But I know I'm going to see him being savage before he dies.
Oh yeah, no. But why would he be? He spent all his time drinking and sleeping before that.
Yes, I
you want to
get
see
that.
him go down in a blaze of glory, Bon Jovi style.
Yeah, whatever, Blaze go whatever. But the fact of the matter was, if he would have even gave that speech of how the only time he spoke up when he was with the other people is when they was at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only time he spoke up. So you telling me that you can't give me a 30-second war scene with him going ham before he died?
Yeah, well, he didn't want to do it though. Remember, like he thought of war as soulless, so he's not excited to do it. He's not passionate
that,
about war. He
bro.
dislikes it, right?
Listen.
But he's there to serve his friend, who's the king now.
And he
And
does
he
know
even
that.
says, like, his whole tone before he goes off into battle is, "I'm either gonna die from drinking in town or die with a sword in my hand." So, like, what he was resigned. He wasn't
Okay.
excited.
You said it, or die with a sword in my hand, because he's verbally said that. Can I see that? Can I see him die? Can I see with a sword in his hand?
Nope.
Can I see that? Because I know he has skills.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
like that you see his death through the eyes of Henry, though. I do like that you come to see that as his friend would, where you are looking through the field and like panicking, and then you see him and you're like,
It
because
would've
that's how it would
had-
be.
For me,
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for anybody else, but for me, if he would have died, right, and we would have seen that death, the valor death, and he would have died, and then at the end of the battle, everybody is cheering, everybody having a great time. We won the war, and Henry's searching through who's dead, who's alive, because in war, you don't know who's dead or alive. You have to search through it, and then he come across his boy, his best friend that he had conversations with. He has nights with drunken ballads with like everything. You see him that would have affected me even more so.
Right.
I had no feelings when King Henry found his boy because
Really? I thought it was exceptional that the king
I had
even
none.
sat down
Mhm.
and started
I had
to
none.
cry a little. That's
I had
huge.
none.
A king would never be off his mount.
I
Right?
had none because I take away the kingship because they were friends, and he even his boy even said like we're friends. Like I don't see you as a king. You're not a king to me. We're friends, and so that friendship part, it took away from me from the movie. So I will say that movie is dope as hell. I'm not going to take away from the whole movie because the movie is dope as hell. I can't take away from the whole movie, but that part, I think that he should have had a valor death to where I would have been, for me, I would have been attached to that death, and then his boy would have came and it's like, oh damn, my boy's there. Like, cause I seen what happened, but he didn't see what happened. But he's mourning over his. Oh my God, that would have added so much to me. Period.
Raheem, can I ask you this? Because you texted us, you said that you are Sir John. I'm curious how you identified. How do you identify with him?
Woo! All right. So,
because he likes to drink and sleep.
In short, I cannot get into detail. But in short, this is who I am now. This is not who I was. Okay, I've changed my life a whole lot. But King Henry, he respects the younger generation enough to kick him down information that can have them live a long life, longevity life. Like, and that's what I do with my nephews. Anybody who's young, I don't have to know you. If you're young, I'm gonna kick down information that's gonna add more life to you or money or whatever the case may be, because I have a plethora of knowledge. We have experience. So so not King Henry, but damn. What is his name again? Sorry.
John.
The guy you like?
John?
Yeah.
John.
So I'm like him in a sense to where we have experience. We've been through life. And this is what I'm going to gift you and help you because I love you. And if every generation of people were to do that based off their experience, their life experience, and kick down information to the next generation, the world will be better. In hindsight. You know what I'm saying? The world will be better in hindsight because the next generation is kicking that information. Okay, this is what we did. This wasn't the best idea, but if we would have done this, it would be better for you. So, bruh, really kicked down information to him. And not only that, when the ropes was against him, the high ground, I'm gonna go to Star Wars, having the high ground, it's a wrap. It's literally a wrap. But he said, okay, hold on, it's gonna rain tonight. So that was a part of the movie that was what I like to say, something that's
coincidental.
You know, oh, it's gonna rain.
Convenient, right?
Convenient, coincidental, convenient. That's gonna help them win the battle. But he knew, because of his war experience, he knew the weather, whatever it's gonna take. This is the only opportunity that we had that's gonna win. So he kicked in information that can help the younger generation to win in life. And so that's why I see myself as him, as kicking down information to the younger generation.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yup.
Beautiful expressions, Raheem.
All right. It's your turn now, bro.
All right, Jared.
David, are you sure you don't want to go? Because you're always going last.
He's going to go first when he picks his movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the same thing that I said was alike on the realism of the war. There were a couple scenes that I felt weren't realistic at all, because King Henry is like $120 soaking wet. And he's like, there's a couple scenes where he's tossing off these dudes full of armor.
Yeah.
You know, and there's that long shot, which is really cool, when he's going through and taking out a bunch of people, but it was a little bit unbelievable. that he'd be able to do any of that. Because I mean, he's also been drinking and living a life of debauchery. How is he like trained in war?
He was like 20 years younger.
That's true too. And then there was a scene where he like held the dude's face in the mud for like 3 seconds, and the guy was dead.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen. Like,
Right.
So just, but it you know, those were minor. My major thing that I had problem with was I felt like there were all three main characters, there were some major inconsistencies in them. First of all, Henry seemed to go back and forth between doing everything he could to avoid war and avoid violence, to off with their heads to his cousin, and then avoiding it again, and then kill all the prisoners. And it was like, I could see how you could get to a point and then you don't look back. But
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Is that not real life?
To those,
well, especially when you have people lying to you to get something done, and you're feeling jerked back and forth. That's kind of what I thought.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So
I put the same thing is.
So he wasn't the only one though. I thought it was interesting how we had that really funny part that I laughed out loud at, where John was saying he never shuts up, never ever, never ever ever, and he's just the guy that like.
Oh, after he's puking because of his first kill.
Yeah, and he's like, just, and I actually it's funny because before Hal said, "Please just stop talking," I was like, "Dude, you need to stop. This guy is like, he's not wanting to hear this."
No, that was a good scene. Yeah,
it was a really good scene. But then later on, when he's actually called upon to give advice,
oh yeah, then all of a sudden he's quiet.
He says nothing, and he even says, "I only say something that's worth saying," or something,
which
like
is
that.
bull crap.
Right. That was like two complete.
You can't shut the dude up for the first half of the movie about nothing that matters. No, it's true.
No.
Okay.
So
because I do have a third one, but you go ahead and let's talk about him.
I'm gonna say something real quick.
Okay.
You miss. I'm gonna come back to it, but you missed the point of that whole scenario and why he was talkative, and then he was quiet, and then he only spoke up when it actually mattered. That's all I'm gonna say. So keep going.
You can finish it up because I mean we're talking about him right now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What was the point I missed?
I'm trying to be as quick as possible.
Okay.
They was not in responsibility of lives. Okay, so he's as talkative as you want to be, but he said a lot of things that was facts. That was true because he is a man of war. He's been there. He's been a man of war. He's seen it. He's been serving the King Fourth for a long time, and so he's seen it. He's seen the hypocrisy. He's seen everything about it. Mm-hmm. And so now it reminds you too. He did not want to be a part of what King Henry V was about. He didn't want to be a part of it. But King Henry finally convinced him to come on board. Liquor convinced him, but anyway. But he didn't be a part of it.
Paying off his bill.
And so, basically.
Really? Yeah.
That part too. And so he's sitting back and watching and seeing what's going on. He knew the battle they can win without him. Then he knew the battle, if he didn't say something, they were going to lose. Badly. So the only time he spoke up is when he knew they was going to lose if he didn't say something. That's what I got from that, of being talkative, being quiet, and then now finally saying something. That's what I got. That's it.
It's as a talkative person, I know it's really hard to just shut your mouth. So like, I don't. It's hard for me to believe that he just sat quiet through a lot of that stuff, especially when his whole reason of being there was to be an advisor.
Right.
What up, Naveen?
Something to be.
And that was another part actually I forgot about when Hal like told him he was going to disembowel him on the spot. You know, like that was another place where it's like, so you love or you hate violence, like which is it? And I from history I found out that King Henry was a lot more like no holds barred when it came to him taking over France. Like it was like he was a warmonger. Sounds like from history.
Well, it makes you wonder if he was goaded into it. That's what this movie does, right?
Yeah.
And that is my third character, and we're going to get into the major spoiler here
Go for
of
it.
William.
Sean Harris.
Yeah, we're doing spoilers.
So, a guy who has been playing the long game
Yeah.
this entire time would have a better story when he's confronted straight
He
up.
would have never thought he was getting caught by like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You don't
Not a
think
million
so?
years did he think
I
that kid
mean-
was that smart.
You'd think that even if he's just a very deceiving person, he'd be able to come up with a better story on the spot. Like he just looked like a deer in headlights. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like he would have had a contingency plan, or if he's smart enough to do all this other stuff beforehand, he's going to be able to he's going to have it all laid out and know exactly how to cover his tracks if the time
Okay.
ever comes.
It depends.
So if it was just one, I wouldn't have a problem with an inconsistency, but I saw it in 3 characters. So that was something. That was a dislike.
So, what is your rating of this movie?
But
We'll do that at
We're
We'll
gonna
do
get to
that.
that later. We got to
We'll do
hear
it then.
David's dislike.
I'm
Yeah,
curious
good,
now.
Dan.
All right, like damn, like I have this movie rated hella high. Like you gotta.
Is that all you
that didn't make me like the movie less, but it made it like, well, I mean, I guess it kept it from being, yeah, it might have knocked it down a level. It wasn't a perfect movie to me because there was stuff like that. I have a question actually about the betrayal. How far back do you think that this went? Do you think that he had something to do with killing his brother? Because he didn't think his brother was like strong enough to actually take on France. Do you think that somehow he had a part to play in that?
I totally think that. I totally think he
Probably.
capitalized on sending his brother to the next field.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I also think the movie doesn't come out and say it, but I also think that he is behind sending the French emissaries to the king's cousins, who he then later decapitates.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's
Like, because they
that's
mainly
war-
just blame him for the assassin and the ball.
Right.
That's war savvy though. That's war savvy. That's stuff like that actually happened in real life.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty tragic, man. When literally 3 minutes after Henry thanks him for his loyalty on the
Yeah.
boat, and he comes and holds his hand,
Yep.
you find out he's been.
So it's great, and that it explains why when he confronts Johnny Depp's daughter, his new wife, the one thing he says to her is speak the truth only to me, always
Mhm.
Yep.
Right.
straightforward and true. That's the only thing that matters to me at this point, because I just literally caused so many deaths because I was allowed to be manipulated when I didn't want to be. I was
Right.
resistant to it the whole time, and I still got
I
manipulated.
did not
Like,
make that connection. I went shorter back to just where she
well, I
was.
watched it like more than
He was straightforward with him a few minutes earlier in the when they were having that discussion in the bedroom. So I was like, I need an advisor like this, but I didn't think about how that compares to like all the treason that he had committed against him earlier.
every single act from the second he gets the ball until he has that conversation with his new
Well,
wife.
was the ball him? That was another question
Yes, that's him.
because when he asked her, like, she's like the ball, like this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
really a
shit. No
ball?
idea. Yeah. Right.
No, they didn't send it.
If
That's what I'm
he
saying.
did- if
Sean
he
Harris
did-
had that sent
I
and
was
said
like,
it was
if he did
France.
send it though, you killed so many people over a ball.
Well, he knew it would be seen as an insult.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's the whole point. He's like, that's an
Yep.
insult. He's the first guy to say it.
that's true.
When you watch it again, he's
Yeah.
like, that's an insult. They're laughing at you. And the
Yep.
people, the mood of the people will be that you're weak.
And he's the
He
one who told him that his brother
verbally said
died.
that. He verbally said that.
Yeah.
This movie has so many. It has so many. Like the dialogue was simple, but it was so much depth to the dialogue. I enjoyed it. For me, this movie was like wow. Like it really took me from the start though. It took me from the start of the movie on how it started off. I was like, good God, like what? Okay, all right, I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna watch this, and as it went along, it didn't have no bull crap. Feminism, like the norm when it comes to these type of movies. It didn't have any of that. It was like a simple storyline, simple dialogue, straight to the point. This is what King King Henry took over.
Mhm.
This is how he took over. It was a simple thing. I was like, damn, this is dope. This is
Yeah,
hella dope.
it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Are you done, Jared?
Yep.
Okay. Dislikes? I don't know. I didn't really have a lot. The only thing that kind of bugged me, it didn't really take me out of the movie, but I was kind of hoping for it more. Was like to me, like the world they lived in felt kind of small. Like I wish they would have showed, like, I guess more the French kingdom, like
Yeah, the
and how they
hillsides just
live.
felt like hillsides.
Yeah, like compared to how they live, like in England or whatever. Just so it would have felt like more like, I don't know, more grandiose, like a bigger
Yeah.
world. But I mean, that's really like the only downside I had to. I don't 100% agree, but I do kind of get what Raheem is talking about the way the guy died, like the way he just kind of like just found him, like just sitting
It's
there.
anticlimactic.
I don't
for sure.
100%. Again, it was anticlimactic. It was anticlimactic for sure. I
feel
don't
like
100%, but I
feel
do
like
kind
that
of get
was
it
the
because
point.
I like the
Yeah,
whole
I thought it
time
was
I got
the
the
point,
vibe that his character like just didn't give a crap. Like
Yeah.
he was just
Fine.
doing it because he felt like the king wasn't able to do it himself. He was like, I mean, he told him that he's like, you're not that kind of guy. Like the king,
Yeah.
he was telling him all this other stuff. He's like, you're not that kind of guy.
But
like, you're
the
not that
king
kind of guy.
became that guy though.
Yeah.
Like he watched the king become that guy. He
Mhm.
watched it, which is why he had an input on that last survival. Like, hey, if I don't say something,
Budget,
we
that's what I
all
was
gonna
thinking.
die.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Keep going. I agree with you.
I think that's it. That's the only thing. The only other thing I remember was kind of small was like, I do agree with. I did notice that too. What Jared said about how small the guy was, like especially like when they showed him with his shirt off,
He's a
like
cat.
how scrawny the dude was, and I was like, man, he was just like mopping through these guys. I'm like, what is going on?
Like his voice.
What is going
when
on
they come
right
out of the
now?
trees, you're like, who's that?
Yeah, like these big, humongous, like guys were like falling on top of him. And he was just like pushing them off and like stabbing them. But
Only 23 million?
23 million pens, and we're probably out the but wow. What up, Sufyan?
Wait,
that's
23
crazy.
million what? That's how much it cost to
With
make.
the budget, yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's
good.
like someone's wallet. Like that's it. Like
That's pretty crazy.
damn.
But yeah, that's pretty much my only real dislikes on it. I felt like the beginning of the movie kind of dragged for me. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I had just woken up and like I hit play real quick because I knew I was running out of time. But I felt like I wasn't fully awake.
It doesn't start out fast if you're in a hurry. Yeah,
It was
no.
like I felt like the beginning of it like kind of dragged a little bit. I don't know why, but
Yeah, not
maybe I'll
really.
need to rewatch it again. But
I do
Yeah,
want to talk about like two things before we get into our ratings, if that's
Mhm.
okay.
I had
Yeah.
a question. I had a question too about
What?
something.
Izzy first, and then
Yeah, go ahead, Izzy.
Jared.
That's fine.
Okay, and these 2 points are meant for like discourse between us, but like they really stood out to me as probably the best parts of the film.
Mhm.
But they are the best parts of the film because everything leads to them, and they're captured in really short moments. And I thought it was worth mentioning, even though I didn't put this on my likes. I just thought it was worth more of a conversation. The first one is the fact that he lets Robert Pattinson humiliate himself in the mud before he gestures
Mhm.
to have his
Yeah.
men kill them.
yeah,
That moment, that's the moment he becomes the king.
The king.
Mhm.
Yep. I
That
agree.
second,
yeah.
right?
I
was
noticed
like,
that.
oh, that was
I
in
noticed
order.
that scene kind of dragged on. I was like, he's just letting this guy flop around
He
in
is.
the mud.
And then he's like, boom. Like,
It
he's
was-
like, it's not even he's giving them permission. When you watch it again, you're like, that's a command.
Mhm.
Like, sorry, I loved that. And I love that
Yeah.
they captured that much lightning in a bottle in
Yeah.
like one gesture. I couldn't believe how
That was
well
dope.
done that was.
I was not
Okay.
expecting that at all. I mean, I thought he's going to go over and
Neither.
do his trademark like.
They set
Yeah.
it up, right? They set your expectation,
Yep.
and then they give you something else. That was really
Yeah.
good movie making. And the other thing is the conversation with the King of France,
Mhm.
where the king's like, I'll surrender to you if you're gonna roll up in my backyard and kill everybody. Like, whatever, man. It's not a big deal. Like, I don't want to fight. I actually genuinely don't want to fight. But I get
Yeah.
the sense that your father and my son have created impressions of each other for us
Right.
Yeah.
outside of our
That was
control.
My favorite
Yeah.
part of the movie,
That conversation
the conversation.
is so good.
I am a
Which you would have missed.
conversation.
You would have missed Raheem. You would have missed that part if you had to finish. the movie.
have. That's true. It's
That's why I gave you credit. Okay, I gave you credit already, Jared. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
I gave you credit. So that was my favorite part of the movie.
So good. And what my favorite part about that part is that you see what you should see, which is the difference in tone from an old man who's already gone through that kind of stuff and understands it, so he's comfortable, and a young man who's never gone through it and is aghast,
Yeah.
right? Because this is his first time going through understanding what the rest of his reign is going to look like when cleaning up his father's messes. When that guy has already spent a lifetime cleaning up his son's messes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
like those two scenes, like even on subsequent watches, I'm just like, how did they nail that? Like, how did you're just there for it? You're just like, oh yeah, that's what that would feel like. You
And
just
you know
like
what's
took,
cool?
huh?
What's cool about that conversation? It was a simple conversation. It wasn't a in-depth conversation. It was a
No,
simple.
it's just like that's how it is.
Yeah.
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 You'll figure
is
it out.
right. So get ready because you're gonna enjoy the same thing I enjoyed.
I love that he's like, yeah, just go ahead and I'm gonna ask that you marry my daughter so that like we can just be ourselves now
Right.
Yeah.
and prove it. Now that we understand who the normal people in the room are, now that
Yep.
your father and my son are out of the picture,
Wow.
like let's give the people the visual recognition that we get to act normal now by
Right.
you marrying her. Like, and it's like, man, it's good. Like, it's just like, oh yeah. But then she totally just rips into him. She's like, oh, are you actually that stupid? Are you actually that stupid? Like, and yet the whole movie you're thinking he's not. The whole movie you're like, whoa, he's so smart. He's so full of common sense. And then she just tears him to the core in a few sentences, and you're just like, what did I just watch, dude?
Oh,
Like,
Johnny
He's a
Depp's
boy.
daughter.
He's a
That's
boy. He's
dude.
still a boy.
That was
And
my
women are
favorite
like
scene. in the
always
whole movie.
The conversation with the new wife.
Yeah.
Ahead of us.
That was my
Yeah.
favorite scene in the whole
Women
movie,
are
man.
always 3 steps ahead.
She was just like she was just like it's just
You really
like
took
you
my
said.
brother that seriously?
Yeah, she was just like, oh, you think you know what's going on, but you actually have no idea like
Yeah.
what you've been doing the whole time.
But what's cool is they do go like, oh, he's smart enough to literally go talk to Sean Harris right now.
Oh yeah.
As they're about to announce the marriage.
Right.
He's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Right? And how hard would that be to stab him in the back of the head after you have basically felt loved by him
Right.
Yep.
Man.
after the boat scene?
Done.
What a good movie, dude. Like,
You know,
what-
when-
Really
like,
good.
honestly.
Really good. Yeah.
When you bring that up, that's crazy that like I didn't think about this, but the climax of the movie is 3 conversations.
It is 3 conversations.
Yep.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's all in that last 20 minutes where Raheem like yeah.
Hey, I was mad, okay? I was mad. I was
You know what?
upset. My boy was just done
What's up,
dirty,
Janet?
okay?
Raheem, we were talking about this before you jumped on. I was like, you know what? Yeah, he bailed and he almost didn't go back, but that's what makes you such a valuable part of like this conversation is your passion. Like,
For sure.
like
Yeah.
Mhm.
the fact that you get so engrossed that you could turn it off. Like I could never turn a movie off that I loved ever, you know. But yeah, I'm glad you
can't.
finished it.
It's like when I fall in love with a character, I have a vision on how that character is going to play out. So if it is to play out to the T, okay, I can live with that. But when you cut, when you cut my heart out,
Oh man,
when you cut my heart out, I was watching it from when he first came on the scene. I was like, oh,
he was so
Oh,
cool.
I said,
I love that
he's gonna
character.
be
He's so likable.
I
Yeah.
said he's gonna be a story. And it's going on, I'm watching him going on. I'm watching this all in one take. All in one take.
It's interesting.
And then it gets to that point. I'm sitting here. I'm thinking I'm going to get a glory scene of him. I knew he was going to die though. I knew when that came, he was going to die. I just knew that because I just know movies, right?
Well, his little speech where he was like, "I'm either going to die as a drunk or I'm going to die in the war." Like at that point, yeah, it was a given.
You're like, oh,
it was
like, well, you are though. Like,
it was a definite given.
As soon as you saw him dressing
I'm
up,
watching the scene, and then I'm watching the war scene. I'm watching everything falls out, and then they show him like
a corpse.
I'm like, okay.
Raheem, I love the point that because you were kind of giving us a little commentary as you were watching, where you said that he looked at his helmet and saw the cross and realized the hypocrisy. I didn't catch that, but that was so
I
cool.
fell in love with this movie
Yeah.
to where I was watching everything, like
Yeah,
everything.
that was great.
But that when they did a blimp on that scene, I knew it was done for him, and it was going to show the glory scene. And I was so upset. You asked my wife. I was so upset.
Did you walk off?
Oh, no, I cut it off. I was texting y'all, and Jared was like, "Oh, you gotta, you gotta."
No. The third act is like.
I cut off our whole text message. I didn't want to hear nothing. I was done. I was so pissed. I was so mad because I knew. I just knew. I didn't even see him just dead, and then I didn't see none of that. That's how mad I was.
You said you knew. You said you knew the king found him conveniently.
Yeah.
So you got to that point, right?
Yeah. So came back, put it back on. That happened. Cut it off again. Made my comments, and I was done with it.
That's so funny.
And then you told me to do. Oh, you gotta follow you. I said, nope. You know how stubborn I am. I'm stubborn as hell. I was like, nope.
I'm like, you're being difficult. I told you you're being difficult.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Nope. So,
And it's really crazy.
back.
Like Jared, I could totally see Jared's panic too, and I knew it, but I didn't say anything. But I was like, oh, the amount of content that you get from the beginning of the movie till the moment of Sir John's death is the same amount of content you get from Sir John's death to the credits.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you gotta watch after that.
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
the whole
That's what
thing.
happened. So he convinced me. I'll put it back on, and I watched it. I followed all the way through. I said, okay. This the ending, the dialogue that came with it was great, but I'm hurting right now just thinking about it.
Oh.
I hate that part. I just hate it so much. Like, give me a glory scene, just something of him going out with a bang. Like, yes, this is what I.
But that would be if we did get that. If we did, I feel like that would be contrary to his entire view of war. Right? His actual death validates what he says about war the whole movie.
It would.
But it's soulless
and ugly.
It would solidify exactly what he said.
Yeah.
By him dying in a glory scene.
And
we'll get over it.
No. I would get over it. But give me his experience.
I feel like they did show it all the way up to his actual death because, and that's actually one of my questions that I have here. So they showed him he was on the front line, in front of the front line. He gets rammed by that horse.
Yeah.
Later on, he gets his bell ringed and he has to take his helmet off. And at that point, I'm like, you're the only dude on the field without a helmet. You're done.
I thought he was about to die right
but
there.
He still took out quite a few people at that point. So, I mean, so the last scene we see of him, this is my question. It felt like the other soldiers were surrounding him and encompassing him. And I was wondering if anybody else got the idea that maybe Henry told the soldiers protect him because he's my friend.
Oh, maybe.
It looked like that. It looked like he couldn't get anywhere.
No, it was like an armadillo. It totally was.
And I don't know if that was just war, just like they're trying to grasp that feeling of being confined at the same time. But it looked like that. It looked like they were intentionally surrounding him.
That could be.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact where they kind of showed him being knocked around too. 'Cause it made it more realistic. You know, like he was like what like a buck 25.
Soaking wet.
The dude was light. The dude was light. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
showing him being knocked around, but being able to use his wits to not die. It's like the whole goal is not dying.
Well, you know, to fight.
Reason
it's interesting because they imply that too. Because he even said the first thing he says to his brother when he gets to the field, besides the like, "I'm here to stop this insanity and save you," is he says, "You know nothing of warfare," and he says it like a person that does know something of warfare. Yeah. And it should say something that his best friend is John, like probably the most appreciated veteran in the city, right? So it doesn't surprise me that Timothy Chalamet knows how to fight, because he does. Like when you see him, he's like, he knows how to handle a blade. He's twirling them and stuff. And the fact that he chose to use a hammer instead of a sword in that fight in the mud, that's a decision, right? That's like, he knows that that's a more effective thing against chainmail, right? Like, I was like, oh, he actually knows, but they just don't show you. They just expect you to meet them halfway.
He's got the one thing that he does both times he's going to sword fight, where he does the cool little like flip.
You test the weight. You're gonna like. I mean, even like Robert Pattinson does it, but he does it more as a flourish.
Yeah,
right?
That was.
You can see that he's good. You can see Robert Pattinson's good when he does that thing, and you're like, oh, he's scary. Like there's a moment where you're like, you don't expect him to slip.
He's been sitting while this guy's been fighting for like
exactly,
and he's got armored up. What a coward!
Yeah, he's such a chicken, killing little kids and stuff.
Sparkle.
Oh yeah, when those kids walked into the woods, it's like I knew. Oh man, it's like the second you saw kids in the woods.
Yep. Let's go get wood for the camp on the front.
Like they're dead.
Like, what? Like yeah.
Let's do the ratings real quick. So we'll start with Izzy.
10, no surprise. I think what the movie was, well, let's get into the two questions I always ask, right? What was it trying to do? How well did it do it? It was trying to elevate the period piece, and I think it nailed it to the wall. I think it did it better than any other film that's tried to do that by a large margin. So, yeah, 10. This is in my top 10. And it was the second I finished watching it. I was like, oh. Like that's in my all-time top 10. I think that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. So
dang,
I won't beat it to death, but that's where I stand on it.
Okay, all right, Raheem.
9, which is
9. This is the closest Raheem and I will ever get.
I am weird when it comes to ratings, but damn. It had me laughing. It had me in my emotions. It had me it had me like excited. The only fault, and you already know what I'm about to say, the only fault is that my boy didn't get his glory death. That was the only, if it would have had that scene, the glory death, I would have given it a 10, but I gave it a 9 just because of that. But 9 is big as hell.
Somebody do a fan edit. Somebody do a fan edit for Raheem where you stick.
Where he's like,
But that movie is dope. I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to watch it a few times actually. That movie is dope, and I'm happy that you know the cool thing about this group that I'm going to point out is that we are so different, but at the same time, we love movies. And so it pushes us to watch something that we would not normally watch. Mm-hmm. I would not have picked this to watch at all. I was done with this type of film.
Yeah. Done. I've seen it on Netflix for a while, but I never clicked play on it.
Right? I've seen it. It's been there. Yeah. I'm like, pass. So the fact that I watched this film and I fell in love with it, Izzy, man, like that was dope. That was dope. So 9 is what I'm going to give because my boy died too early. It didn't give him his glory death.
Meaning before the credits.
I'm done with 9.
Jason gives it
all
8.
right.
That's cool.
8, nice. Also 8 for me, nice. All right, Jared.
I'm probably going to give it an 8 too.
Okay.
It's hard for me. Like I said, I probably won't watch it again, but I think that's just because I'd rather spend time digging deeper into the characters and other interpretations.
I do want to watch the Hiddleston one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me to go above 8 on something that I might not ever put on again, but I might. It's 7 or 8 years from now.
Yeah.
Maybe once I see if Timothy Chalamet becomes like megastar, and I like The King. That was a good movie he was in.
All right.
I might go back and check that out.
He will become a star. I'm telling you that
Yeah,
right now.
he's freaking good, man.
He's destined. He's destined, bro.
He's a good actor, man. He's a good actor.
His delivery of those lines, like, just dead on.
Yep.
How old is he? Does he even know how old he is? My phone died. I'm curious. Is he one of those like
26
Ralph
probably.
Macchio? Is he one of those Ralph Macchio guys where he's like actually 30, but he looks like he's 18? Or is he actually 18?
I think he's 26, 28.
Okay.
Like
So yeah.
What's his last name?
Chamlet.
That's funny. I gave him 25.
25. He's
I gave him
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he filmed this, he was probably 22, 23.
Probably.
Because this came out in 19, I think.
Yep.
I thought it was a new movie, but
It's newish.
well, yeah, but I thought it was like brand new when you brought it up, and
Holy
Oh.
shit.
I'd never seen it. I'd never seen it.
It's been sleeping on Netflix for a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will give it a 9. I give it a 9. Pretty. It's almost. I don't know. I have to watch it again to see like what really would stop me from making it a 10, but I would give it a 9.
I agree with you that the hillsides in France would do it if I was in your headspace,
Yeah.
because I did feel like this is just grass.
Right.
But that's also war. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I get it.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see. some
Like
more
just
depth
see
in
like
the
yeah like
countryside.
just scenes of like because they showed a lot on how like they live in England and just like their lifestyle and like it would have been cool to see that in France during that time to see what it was like and it would have made it felt like they were worlds apart, you know, like a country apart or whatever. But
Dude, how fun that we all love this movie, but we still had a
Did
ton
not
of time
expect
about
that.
yeah,
I did not
Great.
expect all 4 of us to like this movie as much as we did. I was like, for sure, this might be divisive. So that's exciting. Yeah.
I love Shakespearean movies. I was raised off of it. I was raised off of old school black and white movies. All of it. Like literally all of it.
when it's done like this, I like it a lot.
So yeah, Shakespearean war torn movies. You brought me back to where I left. Like I literally left this area of movies because of what it has become.
It's the first one in a long time that's a period that feels like this that I like. I love Braveheart, but after that, I mean, there were a few that kind of tried that I didn't feel them. And this
It
one,
was hard.
yeah.
Yep. The only movie that I loved after Braveheart was the Count of Monte Cristo.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one too.